Welcome to The Daily Show. My name is Jon Stewart. We've got an unbelievable program prepared for you tonight. Gary Clark Jr. is going to be here later to do a little bit of music. We're going to get the smoke machine going. But before we get to that, let's bring a little meaning into all our lives. Let's get to... I don't know what I'm talking about. Let's get to the big news today. Breathless anticipation at Trump Tower over an important and perhaps earth-shaking development in the world of former President Donald J. Trump.
Celebrations are underway for former President Trump after claiming he won 2 golf trophies at his West Palm Beach club.
That's right, woke libs. You think Donald Trump's a loser? Well, would a loser brag about winning a golf tournament at his own course? I don't think so. Although obviously Trump has an advantage playing golf. It's difficult for his opponents to stay focused when they spend all that time staring at that ass. Come on. A lot of times golfers let you grab them by the asshole. They love it if you're a celebrity. That's the worst Trump impression in the history of Trump impressions. Actually, Trump, one of the few talented golfers who has a thick ass and a front butt. He has a front butt. So what it does is the butt and the front butt become like a big ball. The back and the front. It helps with the center of gravity. It's like being on a hippity hop. But I'm kidding, of course. Congratulations to Donald Trump on winning the Trump Cup. I'm actually talking about today's big Trump legal development.
The clock is ticking for former President Donald Trump. He'll need to post a nearly $500 million bond in order to satisfy his New York civil fraud case judgment. Otherwise, the state could begin seizing properties to pay for it.
Damn! That's right. All week we sat with breathless anticipation to see if Trump had $454 million in his wallet. Or would Trump Tower be turned over to New York City to perhaps ease our terrible housing crunch? Or more likely do what they always do, another shitty Walgreens. I think another shitty Walgreens whose shelves are bare from the rogue bands of shoplifters. Thanks a lot, David Dinkins. See, I don't know. Very small percentage of the audience who will understand what I just did. But the ones that do, as you can imagine, the prospect of Trump being held accountable for what would be the first time had the media enthralled.
Donald Trump is running out of time to find $464 million.
The former president's legal problems may finally be catching up with him.
Could this be the beginning of the end for Trump's business empire?
But it does seem as though we are getting closer.
Trump feeling the walls closing in on him.
Panic mode, I'm told, is setting in.
I think we're going to be writing a version of an obituary of the Trump organization.
R.I.P. the Trump organization. It died as it lived. Fraudulently. Look, folks, it is very difficult to come back from an obituary. It looks like it's the end of the line for Donald J. Trump, Esquire. No way! He comes up with $500 million by the end of the day. I've been saving this since 2016, and it's finally here. And it's finally here. Judgment Day!
Moments ago, the former president got a financial lifeline from a New York appeals court.
This isn't gonna be good.
It reduced the bond he must pay in a civil fraud case from more than $450 million to $175 million and gave him more time to pay for it.
Well, that's still something. That's 10 days to come up with $175 million. I mean, unless he's about to come and do a shit ton of money, I don't see how he does that.
The recent merger of Truth Social could net the former president some $3 billion.
Motherfucker! Oh. That is New Year's Eve. Oh. Stupid. You know what, let's take a step back. What did Trump actually do to earn this penalty? Well, it turns out that for a decade, whenever Trump wanted to get a loan or make a deal, he would illegally inflate the value of his real estate. For instance, suggesting that his 11,000 square foot penthouse was a 30,000 square foot penthouse, I guess somehow including the sky in the calculation. We all do it. I mean, in my license, I'm not listed as 5'7", you know. I'm listed as 30,000 square feet. And thank you. And the Attorney General of New York knew that Trump's property values were inflated because when it came time to pay taxes, Trump undervalued the very same properties. It was all part of a very sophisticated real estate practice known as lying. So the judge calculated that the value that he gained from the lying with interest was around $454 million. Now, you might be saying to yourself, well, that sounds pretty straightforward. Whatever gains you got from lying, you have to pay back. Well, that's because you're a f***ing idiot. No, if you knew anything about business, if you had an MBA, you'd know. You're a f***ing idiot.
We're talking about a victimless crime. They find an ordinance or a law that has never been used ever before in anyone else.
He's committed bank fraud where there's no victim. It makes no sense.
No victims. There was no victim. The ruling is blatantly unfair. That didn't go over very well with the investment community because we're all asking each other, who's next?
Who's next? The persecuted minority of the investment community. First they came for the arbitrageurs, and I said nothing. For I was not an arbitrager. And then they came for the quants, which I could be. I don't know what a quant is. But I am surprised to hear this from Kevin O'Leary, a guy who's such an asshole. Wait. That even the other people on Shark Tank thinks he's an asshole. Now, he's very chill. I'm surprised to hear that he's so chill about overvaluing something that he thinks is victimless, because when someone tries to do that to him...
Which one of you do I absolutely tear to pieces now on a $28 million valuation?
You think this is worth $10 million?
Absolutely.
Okay, now I'm going to rip your pieces. Are you out of your mind?
Your valuation's insane.
Your valuation's crazy. I think that's a crazy valuation.
I think your valuation is stinky poo-poo.
Oh, no, you didn't. Canadians are so vulgar. How is he not this mad about overvaluations in the real world? Because they are not victimless crimes. First, the banks got paid back at lower interest rates, although, to be honest, who gives a shit? But second, money isn't infinite. A loan that goes to the liar doesn't go to someone who's giving a more honest evaluation. So the system becomes incentivized for corruption. And this is part of a different Trump fraud case, but avoiding taxes hurts all of us. Donald Trump's shenanigans cost the city of New York. And to be honest, and let's be frank here, that is money that the city of New York could have used to build more Walgreens. Now, some blocks only have 2 of them. Leave it to Kevin O'Leary to be unaware enough to say the quiet part out loud.
I hear about the so-called victimless crimes, but the laws on the books falsification of business records in second degree, issuing false financial statements, insurance fraud, conspiracy, and all these different aspects of it. Those are actual crimes. I take it your point is that these should not have been prosecuted?
Everything you just listed off is done by every real estate developer everywhere on earth in every city. This has never, ever been prosecuted.
There is a theory in law that if enough people commit a crime, it automatically becomes legal. You're familiar with the purge, are you not? The entitled arrogance. I don't know if you know this, but most people just can't commit fraud and expect to face no repercussions, even if everyone's doing it. Try getting a car loan by saying you have 10 times as much money as you really do, or claim 20 dependents when you have no children, or say you make slightly less money to qualify for food assistance. I will guarantee you there are not just financial consequences for those lies, but criminal ones. But don't tell that to the investment community, because in their minds, in pursuit of profit, there is no rule that cannot be bent. There is no principle that cannot be undercut, as long as you and your friends are making money. And the only immoral practice, hold on, I'm not done. If I could raise my chair up, I would. Apparently, the only immoral practice in the capitalist system is to use that money for people who may need it.
Fraud, waste, and abuse, people never want to be honest about, but a lot of these parents will, they abuse the system. A lot of them are encouraged to abuse the system.
Where do you think the money that you get for food stamps and other things who do you think pays that money, your health care? You're taking their money and you just don't seem to care.
The guy who walks out of the store with a bag of food, is he entitled to it? Because food is a necessity, and he doesn't have enough of it?
You nutrition-needing motherfuckers. Bringing our system to its knees. Stealing is only justified when you already have too much. Ultimately, whether or not Trump is a victim of selective prosecution is going to be a matter for the Supreme Court to decide. Luckily, that is an institution which still holds the trust of the American people because of its integrity.
For years, Justice Clarence Thomas has secretly accepted luxury gifts from a GOP mega donor, Harlan Crow. Gifts like private jet flights, luxury yacht cruises. And according to the report, the Supreme Court justice never reported them on annual financial disclosures.
Victimless!